Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
The Meet the Mancunian podcast has taken us on a little journey through the local community at Manchester. We met some really inspiring Mancunians who have a fierce love for their city. In this bonus episode, I'd love you to just have a listen to why people love Manchester so much. I think you'll enjoy listening to why my Mancunian guests love their city. You. Now, I've got some questions that I hope to ask all my guests, so calling them signature questions. What do you love the most about Manchester?
There's loads. There's loads. I love Manchester. I was thinking about this the other day when I was in town, why I do love it. And I think one of the things is that if you're in Manchester, you're walking along and it can just be normal, but then you look up and there's some stunning architecture around, and there could be a subway or a Pizza Express that on ground level just looks normal, and then you look up and there's some fantastic masonry or the architecture and things like that. So it's kind of like a I don't know, it's sort of hidden but in plain sight, I guess. So I suppose that's kind of what I love physically about Manchester. But I think generally what I love about Manchester and being a Mancunian is just our spirit, and we're fierce, and we will stand up. And going back to sort of Peterloo and the way that the suffragette movement was very strong in Manchester. There's loads of times when Manchester sort of stood up for itself, and I think that's true. I mean, going back to even like kind of the IRA bomb and things like that. I mean, thankfully in that case nobody was hurt, seriously injured, and we actually kind of took that and made an even more vibrant city. Rose from the ashes of that dreadful incident. So yeah, I think it's the spirit of Manchester.
I'm going to be honest, it's the music. I've lived in Manchester all my life, and the music about Manchester is the thing that really connects me to Manchester. But I also love the fact how different each area is. I mean, look at Wythenshawe, it's very green, and then you go into town, and there's still industrial parts of Manchester, or you can, 10 minutes out of town, there's like massive green spaces, and I just really love the whole diversity of Manchester and the cultural side of it as well. We've always grown up, knowing about Chinatown and Miles Platin. It's, the cultural thing's a big thing for Manchester as well, and I think it's something that we all embrace.
This is my home. It's where I was born. It's where my parents were born. It's where I was born. It's where my siblings were born. It's where my daughter was born. It's where all my future children were born. It's where me and my wife got married. It's every major thing in life has happened for me inside Manchester. And I just, Manchester basically has given me everything. And my career has been built in Manchester. My inspirations have been made in Manchester. So kind of, it's a bit of a way, it's a bit like everything. I almost love everything about Manchester, apart from Manchester United. But, the hair and that's nothing I can control. But I love the people. I love Mancunians. We are as a whole a friendly bunch of people who care about things and care about who's around us. We have the best food in all of England. Absolutely bang on. We have the best pizza places. We have the best chippies. We have the best everything. So to kind of put one thing down to what I love most about Manchester is quite hard. No, it's not Manchester City. Probably I'm gonna have to go with that one. But yeah, I love everything about Manchester. It's my home.
I love the diversity. I love the. Okay, let me retrace that step. Hold on a minute. So, I love the history involved in Manchester. The Industrial Revolution has left its fingerprints everywhere, and the mixture of old and new is just incredible. And the fact that people are still using the older buildings, and but also there's much innovation happening, at least in the city centre. And as a result, you've got a huge eclectic community of different types of people. You've got the culture is so diverse as well, because you've got the usual thing which people point to is the football, but then you've got this massive historical music history as well. Like the Halle is, I think it's the oldest orchestra in the world, I think, or at least in Europe. And it was founded by a clarinetist, actually. I'm a clarinetist too, Charles Halle. And there are groups like that. There are also, there's still lots going on as far as music development are concerned. You've got the likes of Craig Charles, who does at least he did before the pandemic, he did like a funk night at Band on the Wall, and it was regular. I think it was every month or something. And yeah, I think it's just the sheer hodgepodge of the different types of culture, and then of course you've got the different different communities that have moved here. Like you've got the in Crumpsall in particular, which is where I know quite well. They have the they have the Jewish community, the Hasidic Jewish community. They've also got a small West Indies contingent, and they've also got a Muslim community. And I just love it. I absolutely love that part of life.
I would say I love the library. I love just the ever evolving sort of skyline and how everything sort of seems to be changing, and the vibe of basically life going on in the city.
Manchester is my adopted city. People might be able to tell from my accent that I'm not a native Mancunian, although my mother was born in Chorlton-cum-Hardy. I do have some northern roots. But I moved up to Manchester over 20 years ago now, and I absolutely love it. It is, I think I love the can-do attitude and the humour and the busyness. The busy bee is the symbol of Manchester. And if Mancunians want to get something done, they go for it. Nothing stops us, but we do it with good humour, and I love that.
It's smaller than London, and it's got as much going on, but in a smaller area. I think it's fantastically diverse. I love walking through Manchester city centre. It's so colourful. There's such a diversity of people. You can hear lots of the different languages being spoken, and it's fantastic. It just makes me feel like it's sort of rich and diverse. And I think people are very positive. I sometimes get a bit down when you look at climate change and, an impending disaster, but then you meet people who are so positive about things and about the future, and young people are so excited about what's going to go on. So I think Manchester's a really positive place. I think it's big enough to have some sort of sense of identity and solidarity, and it's got plenty going on. It's just a wonderful, vibrant place, with a real international feel. It's an international city, I would think. And, there's lots of other big cities in the country, but Manchester feels like an international city.
For me, it's not like the ordinary. It's like the council estates, the little pockets that are unchanged, and the feel of the place, and little red brick terraces and back streets and alleys. I like that type of. I'm not a big fan of town. I think it's become too. I don't know. It doesn't feel real. It feels a bit phony at times. But the back streets and the council estates, I think I just love that. I'd happily just walk around there every day and take pictures around there, rather than the city centre, where I think it's a bit too fake, if that makes sense.
I love Manchester because on any given night, you could have any choice of cuisine that you like. You could listen to any type of music that you want. You could go to a number of different theatres and enjoy cultural experiences that you just, the wealth of options out there is exciting, and Manchester offers that for everybody.
I didn't love Manchester for quite a long time. I hate to admit I didn't. So I'm originally from the other side of the Pennines, so I'm from Yorkshire, and there's this whole Yorkshire-Lancashire thing and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And for years, I didn't feel settled in Greater Manchester. So I used to live in Salford, didn't feel settled at all. But over the last 10 years, I've moved to Trafford. So I now live in Urmston in Trafford. Urmston feels very much like where I was brought up in Sheffield. So it's got a very similar sort of layout. There's lots of trees and, you know, big wide streets and stuff. And I think that is what I love. I love where I live now. But Manchester's also really, the people are really, really friendly. You know, you make so many friends and so many business friends. And yeah, I just love the whole thing of it now. I can't really single out one thing.
I love the diversity of the people. I love the friendliness of the people. I come from Sheffield originally, and they're very friendly over the Pennines, so we say. So yes, and it does make a difference. I look around and I interact with people, and I get it back. I get that vibe back. So that's really lovely. I also like so much going on in Manchester. So lots of activities, lots of concerts. So yeah, there's so much for Manchester. That's amazing.
I love it because I've lived here all my life, and I've got loads of memories in Manchester. So every street that I walk down, I've got a memory of an age. You know, like for instance, when we were little, my dad used to take us to Central Library, and we'd be bored rigid because we couldn't even read at that point. But we'd go to the Central Library, but be amazed by the books and being there. But on the way home, it would take us to a cafe called the Cardoma Cafe, and we'd have toasted tea cakes and tea, and we felt very grown up in this cafe, being asked what we wanted to eat. And so, you know, things like that. To one of my jobs when I was younger was I was in the police force. So my area of work was in the city centre. So I've got lots of memories of walking the beat in Manchester. I like to draw and sketch, and quite often I would sit in Manchester and sketch and draw the architecture. And that came from my dad telling me to always look up, never look down in a city. So that way I saw all the gargoyles, and I saw all the sort of bricks that look like black plaided, sort of quilted fabric. And so Manchester's just in my heart. And it's just I've done a lot in Manchester city centre. I've drank in the wine bars, I've clubbed, I've taken my kids there, and I think having that to my children, my three lads, they're adults, but they're very much Mancunians, and they love Manchester. I wouldn't want to live in another city. And I just think it's in me. I'm a Manc.
I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Meet the Mancunian all these weeks. I hope you've been enjoying it. Please do take the time to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, or any other channel that you listen to podcasts. It'd be great if you could share the podcast with your friends and your family if you're enjoying it. And for those of you who can take a couple of minutes to leave me some feedback or to review the podcast on Apple, that would be really wonderful. Please continue to listen. While we're in the last 2 weeks of Meet the Mancunian Season 1, don't worry, we have Season 2 planned for 29th of March with lots of interesting guests lined up. Stay tuned, keep listening. Thanks again.